here. And she asked she said, I talked to my advisor and I can get into the vet tech program in the fall if I pass your chemistry class. So I said, okay, great. Who passed? Well, I went and looked at her grades. Her follow-on was, is there anything I can do to bring my grade up in the class? And so I went to look at her grade. We've had 9 quizzes that have closed, and there's 1 open right now, right? She's done 7 of the 9 quizzes. Done 7 of the 9. Or she's done 2 of the 9, sorry. 7, she has 7 zeros out of 9 quizzes.
Oh my God.
The homework is just as bad. So it's like one of them, she's got like an 18, and the other, she's got like a 20.
Like she didn't even do the quizzes?
Yeah, she just didn't even do it. So at this point in the semester, it's my problem that you're failing the class?
I'm gonna have one less person ahead of me.
I mean, y'all all know, you know, if you come see me, what do I do? I'll take care of you. I'll work with you. I'll help you get there. But when you've done like 0 work in the semester, you haven't done anything, I'm gonna put the same amount of effort in that you did. Feel for her, feel bad for her, but at some point in life, you gotta learn lessons like that, right? My response to her is, well, maybe you should go back to your advisor and ask her if you can take it this summer, because you're not gonna pass. She's still in class today. Oh well. All right, what are we doing the rest of the semester? Final exam is next Wednesday, right?
No, a week from this Wednesday.
Yeah, next Wednesday. A week from 2 days from now.
Yeah.
9 days from now. So I gotta make it out at some point. So I made it out.
You like 2 problems?
Can I have 2 problems, each worth 50 points?
No.
Is that what you said?
I didn't say nothing about the 50 points or anything.
Well, if it's only got 2 problems, that means each one is worth 50 points, right?
Yeah, we probably need to be able to.
Today we're going to do chapter 14. It's going to feel like we are flying through it. Understand that there'll be homework up. The last homework set I'm going to post tomorrow morning, probably, okay?
Is that going to include 14, 15, and 16, or just?
14, 15, and 16 combined?
Yep.
Okay.
And when's you gonna be?
Friday, that's Monday.
And we have a quiz on 12 and 13 due this Thursday.
Is it due Thursday?
Yep.
So
Yeah, I think so.
we'll go home and read.
So we're gonna do 15 and 16 on Wednesday?
That's what I was saying. We're gonna feel like we're in the summer class.
We're starting on 15 and 16 on Wednesday. I don't know that we'll finish them. Like I told the other class, we're going to feel like we're flying through today. We can look at the homework, understand what the important parts are. Okay, at the end of class today, we'll talk about what the important parts are. You're going to see a whole lot of equations today, a whole lot of reactions. Okay, when you look at reactions, what you need to understand is there are some generalities that go on, right? Some things that are similar in all of them. It's not like we're looking at 50 new reactions. They all look kind of similar. And that's what you have to understand. That's how you learn, is you apply what you already know to what you're seeing that's new, right? So it's not all new. Like the start right here, carboxylic acids. Have we talked about carboxylic acids already? In the last chapter, didn't we? We talked about the oxidation of alcohols, didn't we? And when you oxidize an alcohol, a primary alcohol, you can oxidize it to an aldehyde, and then you can oxidize it to a carboxylic acid. Remember that? So today when we talk about carboxylic acids, it's not all new to you, right? So don't, and y'all aren't the only ones, all my students suffer from this in every class I teach. They learn fact A, and then they go on and they try to learn fact B, and it's like the two don't have anything to do with each other. But in chemistry, I think you've already seen it all relates to each other, doesn't it? Okay? So the sooner you give into that and allow it to work that way for you, the better off you'll be. It's going to be this way in all your classes. a lot of you guys say that you want to be vet tech or whatever. I guarantee what you learn in your first semester of vet tech will come back to haunt you at the end. Okay, I sat in a second year lecture last week and listened to the person talk, and I know the words she was using they learned in their first semester there. And then she talked about parasites, which they learned in their second semester there. So it all kind of flows together. The sooner you kind of understand that, you're not learning fact A and fact B, and they don't have anything to do with each other. The more you can interrelate them, the better off you'll be. Okay? So let's talk about carboxylic acids. How do you recognize a carboxylic acid? It has a carbonyl group, which is what? C double bond O, and it also has a hydroxyl group, OH. They're both on the same carbon, right? The hydroxyl group is on the carbonyl carbon. That's pretty easy, huh? Because we talked about alcohols and we've talked about aldehydes. They look like a combination of the two, doesn't it? Okay. Why do you think it's called an acid? We learned about acids. What do acids do? Besides lowering the pH. How do they lower the pH?
They alter the amount of hydroxyl.
Not hydroxyl, but not directly hydroxyl, but hydrogens. They alter the amount of hydrogens or hydroniums, right? Hydrogen ions or hydroniums, same thing, really. Okay? They alter that. How do you think they're going to alter that?
Adding more hydrogen?
They're going to add more hydrogen because they're acids. Acids add hydrogens, don't they? Chapter 9. Or was it 9? Was pH? 10, 11, somewhere back there. One of the chapters. It's going to be on the final, right? Okay. So they're called acids because that's what they do. They give up hydrogens. We're not going to worry so much about naming these. Just know that you should recognize some of these names. How do you recognize methanoic acid? Why is it called meth? Why is this one called F? Because they have one carbon and two carbons. We learned those words, methane, ethane, propane. Why do you think we learned them? Because now you can recognize these things. Methanoic acid has one carbon. Ethanoic acid has two carbons. How many carbons do you think propanoic acid has?
3.
3. Okay. So we're not going to spend a ton of time naming these. The only thing is you recognize it, it's always numbered from the carboxylic acid. It's the most important part. So this would be 3-methyl butanoic acid, and this is 2,3-dichlorobenzoic acid. Okay? Because they're always numbered from the carboxylic acid. We're not going to worry about numbering so much. A couple of common acids. We talked about formic acid before when we talked about the oxidation of methanol, right? And I said, oh, that makes formic acid. You might remember what we talked about formic acid. I said that is my, remember I said something about formic acid? That's my favorite acid. Because it's made by ants. When they sting you, that's what they're injecting, is formic acid. It's this irritant, right? The one on the bottom, often called acetic acid. The correct IUPAC name would be ethanoic acid. Look at it. It contains 2 carbons, and one of the carbons is a carbonyl carbon with a hydroxyl group on it. Anybody ever drank any ethanoic acid? Yeah? So not all organic compounds are bad for you, huh? Well, probably you wouldn't want to chug a bottle of that. Right? You take sips of it when you make what? Salad dressing or all various other stuff like that, right? Okay. All right. I said we're not going to name these so much. I just want you to recognize some of the names. This is called pentanoic because it has 5 carbons. And on the second carbon, there's a methyl group. So it's 2-methyl pentanoic acid. Okay. We're not going to worry about naming these. We'll talk about that. What do you think this one's called over here? What's the longest carbon chain? 3, right? So it's probably what? Propanoic acid? Excuse me? 2-methyl propanoic acid, right? There's a methyl group on the 2 carbon. Everybody sees that? The one on the right, when you have a benzene ring like that, it's called benzoic acid. The 1 carbon is the one where the carboxyl group is up there. So this is 3-bromo benzoic acid. Okay. What about this? Now, what do you use carboxylic acids for? That's a good question, huh? Well, they're often used, the salts of carboxylic acids are used as preservatives and flavor enhancers. So I want y'all to go home and look in your pantry and find your ramen noodles or your ravioli jar can and look and see what kinds of preservatives are in there. There's normally something, anybody ever heard of sodium benzoate? Or sodium propanate? Yes, they're all in there. They're the salts of carboxylic acids. What does the salt of it mean? It means it's lost the hydrogen and it's replaced that hydrogen with some other cation, some other positively charged thing. Okay? So here's an example. Here is methanoic acid. Okay? Now this is very polar. Okay? Why is this polar? What do we know about oxygen? Anybody see? You know anything about oxygen? What about oxygen and electronegativity? Does oxygen have a high electronegativity or a low one?
Hi.
It's high. Oxygen is a hoarder of electrons. It likes electrons. So look up here. Oxygen is very negatively charged, partial negative charge. So what does that leave hydrogen with? No electrons. So hydrogen's like, I'm out of here. That's what happens with acids, right? They give up that hydrogen because they're very polar. Okay? Because carboxylic acids are so polar, they are very soluble in water. Ones with 4 carbons or more are very soluble. Or 4 carbons or less, sorry, are very soluble. That's been kind of the rule, hasn't it? See what I was talking about? If you learned early on that alcohols with 4 or fewer carbons are soluble, it's the same thing, isn't it? So when we talked about alcohols last week, this should look just like that. 4 carbons or fewer, soluble. Make sense? Okay. So, carboxylic acids are weak acids. When you add them to water, they lose the hydrogen ion and become an anion. They're negatively charged. Okay? So here we have ethanoic acid or acetic acid. We add it to water, it gives its hydrogen up, water takes it, so in this case water acts like a base, and we get the ethanoate ion. Note the name changes from ethanoic to ethanoate. So when you see on your ramen noodles, benzoate, that means it was benzoic acid, it's lost its hydrogen, and now there's probably a sodium or potassium ion there, replacing the hydrogen. Okay? We're not worried about that. So here's when you add butanoic acid. How do we know that's butanoic acid?
There's more.
There are 4 carbons here. So we know it's butanoic acid because there's 4 carbons, right? That word in there, but, you should recognize that it's 4 carbons. Noic acid, butane, OIC acid, because it has a carboxyl carbon. It also has a hydroxyl group on it. When we add it to water, it loses the hydrogen right here, loses its hydrogen, and is now an anion. So it becomes the butanoate